We're really talking about the demand generation side of growing your business. And demand generation, of course, is very important. It's one of the most important things that you'll need to focus on in your business. But we want to talk about how do we do it from a perspective of value. My background is I was president of an internet company. I'm older than I look. In 1999, we took that company public. And then after September 11th, I started my own business, grew it, sold it. And when I sold it, I had this crazy idea that I was going to make money and make the world better. And so I started this purposeful Shark Tank called Share on Purpose. And we have a speculator fund that invests in businesses. And then we also have a cultivator where we actually create our own concepts. And I've got 5 of those and a great team that lead those businesses. And Shifco is business number 5, which is great. So that's us. We do all sorts of events. This is more of a business training event today, but we also have what we call personal fuel events. There'll be one on pure confidence on May 9th. And then we also feature our mentors and coaches. And on May 15th, Kim McKernan will be here, and she is a branding expert. So you're welcome to join any of those events and hang out with us and learn really cool things and meet really cool people. So when we're talking about value, what we're talking about is combining the purpose of your business, which is the why, the value you provide, which is obviously what this session is about, and then growing the business so you can elevate your impact. We specialize in the demand generation side of the business, but also on the operations. How do I make the business more scalable? And these 2 elements are like a seesaw, and we need them both in balance for the business to be healthy. So we need enough demand so that we're making enough money. And then we need enough resources in place so that we can service the demand. And the method that we prescribe to is called authentic demand generation. And I'm going to walk you through that. But we also today are going to talk about how do you actually communicate your value when you are out there generating demand. So the first thing that I like to say when I teach this particular lesson is although prior to starting this purposeful Shark Tank, I had been a business growth executive. My previous business was a growth strategy firm. I was somebody you came to when you wanted to grow your business. For the vast majority of now my almost 40 years in business, that was my jam. And so when I started this purposeful Shark Tank, I failed at doing good. Many of the business growth things that I put in place didn't work. And there was this kind of like this meeting of, felt like more like an implosion, where I had been trying all of the traditional business growth things. But when you're talking about growing something and speaking about its value, a lot of those typical growth things are very inauthentic. And so I had to really rethink a lot of the ways that I thought about marketing. So value as a purposeful business, as a conscious entrepreneur, where our commitment is growing and making a difference, value is actually our advantage. And I've done a lot of research on this. A traditional business is the questions they ask themselves they lead to very inauthentic outcomes, such as, well, when I start my product, is somebody going to buy this? So let's say I wanted to come up with this purple jug here, and I'm like, will people buy it? Should I change the color so people will buy it? Whereas a conscious business says, will this product solve a problem? And beginning to tweak your lens a little bit from these questions that we're going to walk through is really how you tease out the value aspect of what you're doing. Second is pricing. A traditional business says, what will someone pay? A conscious business says, how much is it worth? So again, that's value is truly embedded in it. And then success, a traditional business says, how much money can we make? A conscious business says, hey, can we make money and make a difference? So more than likely, if you're tuned into Shiftco, you're already thinking this way. I want you to really isolate those things. Like when you look at your product, what is the problem it solves? When you look at pricing, what is the worth of it? Is it in the results that you get? Isn't it the relationship that you build? Is it the impact that you deliver? And then really, what is the difference that you're making? Because that is how we begin to pull the value to the surface. So we need our purpose, which is why are we doing this? Shiftco's purpose is to help our members grow thriving businesses. That's why we're in business. Everything that we do is dedicated to that. The value part of what you're doing, we want to isolate that. And then we're going to take that value and we're going to put a growth methodology to it so that we can accelerate our impact. So as we pull that together, let's start with a typical marketing funnel. And I don't like the name of marketing funnel, but I know it's out there. The hardest part of marketing is awareness. You need way more people to be aware that you exist than you ever could imagine. It's the hardest part. So in a traditional marketing aspect, why do people buy Google ads? Because they're trying to make their business more visible. They want more people to be aware. Second is the people that become aware, a subset of them are going to be interested. Third is they need to actually need and want your service. And then fourth is they have to be willing and able to take action on that desire. So when you hear the term a marketing funnel, it's a funnel just like it looks. Here's though the part that becomes inauthentic is really the goal in a marketing funnel is to get someone to buy. So just think about that. When you run an ad, when you put up a lead magnet on your website, the intention that's being set is to get someone to buy. And that is a very, very inauthentic reason. So the question that I began to ask myself about 12 years ago, when most of my traditional marketing was not successful in growing these conscious businesses, was, okay, how can I look at it differently? How can I still create demand and be authentic? And I found two very important lessons. Number one, awareness is still awareness, and you need more awareness than you can ever imagine. So that's going to be the first job. How can I ensure that more people are aware of the value I provide? Not how can I make sure more people are aware of my business, not how can I make sure more people are aware of me, but how can I ensure that more people are aware of the value that I provide? Okay, so we're going to be coming back to that concept of value. And then the second aspect of it is, how do I serve people before they buy? This is what I found was the accelerant. If I could do marketing on the awareness building level, which I'll talk through some strategies on how to do that. And if I then said, okay, as people become aware, how can I serve them before they buy and build a relationship with them? My results went up. And it sounds like, well, of course, Terri, but believe it or not, most of the marketing strategies that we deploy, let's just say going to a networking meeting. If my intention is, wow, I really need to fill up my pipeline, and I'm going into that networking meeting, I'm not focused on the relationship. I'm focused on getting a lead. So that intention really does matter. We want to begin to kind of turn off the part of our brain that's trying to get a client, trying to get someone to buy, and turn on another part of our psyche that really is the reason why we started this business, and that is to serve. So what I began to do 12 years ago is to really focus on the relationship. So when I think about more people becoming aware, I think about growing my friends. So today, I think I've got, I don't know, 10 or 15,000 connections on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, every day I go into LinkedIn and I wish everybody on my connection a happy birthday if it's their birthday. And I hardly miss a day. I've been doing this for most of this year. And that's a lot of connections. So every day I've got 20 to 25 people that I'm wishing a happy birthday to. So I'm not on LinkedIn to get leads. I'm on LinkedIn to build relationships. Okay. And so that intention shift, and by the way, that's a great strategy because it started a lot of conversations I never would have had by simply just wishing people a happy birthday. And because they sense the fact that I'm interested in the relationship. So that's an example of what I mean. So be thinking about, how can I get more friends? If I'm networking, are these people that I really want in my friend list? Now, I'm an introvert, so it takes a lot for me to do a networking event. But when I go to a networking event, I know that there are going to be people there that I want to connect with because I'm selective on where I network. When you're on a podcast, are these people you want to be friends with? So that first awareness step begins with, how do I grow my friends? And by the way, I'm going to give you a whole list of ideas for what you can do to grow your friends. Second is, rather than getting a lead, what you're looking to create is, I want to provide value in such a way that people will follow your work and or your company. And that aspect is really key, is you want them to want to know what you're doing. Third is, you want them to become a fan. Maybe they would attend a free event like you're doing today, buy once. And the challenge with step number 3 is that's 100% when they're ready. You can't make people want to become a fan. You have to serve them until they're ready. And then last but not least is, if it's good, they will evolve and they will become a fanatic. And that's ultimately what we're after. Is, I want to create more friends, and I want some of those friends to really follow and be interested in what I'm offering and have to say because they sense the authenticity of it. A subset of those are going to try your free event or your download or whatever that is that's of service, and some will buy once, and a subset of those, if it's good, are going to turn into a fanatic. So what we're doing is we're focusing each step on building a relationship with the buyer. So rather than thinking about it like a funnel, you think about it as a series of relationships. So, hey, we just met. Oh, wow, we're connected on LinkedIn. I'm really curious, when you wish me a happy birthday, I'm really curious, what do you exactly do? I want to learn more. Now, hey, I want to attend that event that you're doing, or wow, I want to try Shipco for 1 month and see what it's like. And then, wow, that was a great experience. I want to continue to buy from you and possibly refer people to you. So rather than thinking about it like a funnel, think about it like a series of steps in building the relationship. Now, typically when people hear me say this the first time, they are like, oh, it's going to take longer. It really doesn't. And surprisingly so, it's just that you have to approach it with a very pure intention, and you have to be very wise with your time. At the end of the day, it boils down to 3 steps. One is, where is the buyer you want to be friends with? If you are hanging out with people, places, on podcasts, whatever your awareness building strategy is, or even if you're doing like Google ads, but you're not attracting people that you want to be friends with, that you would want to hang out with, that's a problem. So that's where a lot of the thought really comes in, because awareness is the most important of the steps. If you don't have awareness, you don't get anything. Where are you going to reach them? Where are they tuned in? Not just anybody, not the people who would quote unquote buy from you, but the people that you can see yourself being friends with. I pride myself on wanting to be with our Shipco members. I love being with our Shipco members, whether it's an event like this or in our coaching sessions or in the squads that I run or the symposium. We're going to Costa Rica next week, a group of us, and I love it because these are people I really want to hang out with. And ask yourself that question: am I hanging out with people I'd want to go have dinner with? So that it's not so much, attracting the millions, it's attracting a few friends that could ultimately become clients that you're so in sync with. you could serve them so well that they in turn will bring more of their friends and more of their friends and more of their friends. Because quite honestly, the fanatics are the ones that really help you make that hockey stick in your business. Second question, so the where are they? Give some thought to that. What are the activities, and I'm going to give you a list to pull from, that you enjoy doing, that you will do to generate more awareness? So we talked about where are they? Well, what are the activities that you'll do? For example, I am an introvert, as I said, so I'm not going to be going to a networking event every week. I get invited, 2-3 times a week, but I'm going to be I might go to one networking event once a month, because it takes a lot of work for me to do that. But if you're an extrovert, you might really like that. So how can you get plugged in to a network of people that are like you? And if you're struggling to find some places to network, on our YouTube page, there's a training called Authentic Networking that is just on places that you could network if you are an extrovert and you like doing that. If you don't like doing it, don't do it. Maybe you want to speak, maybe you want to be on podcasts, but do the activities that you enjoy. And it's very, very important that you enjoy them. And then lastly is grow the relationship. I'm going to save that in a minute because we're going to come back to that of, a toolkit to help you grow the relationship. So here's a list of things that you can do for that first step. So that first step is we need to grow awareness. We've thought about where our buyer is. Now we want to start choosing some activities. And this is about 20% of the possible choices, but it'll get you started. I categorize things so that I can remember them. The first one is called BST, blood, sweat, and tears. Every business I start with these 3 things. I actually have the cards right here. I have these little cards that I leave everywhere I go that talk about ShiftCo. In the restaurant, I drop them in the cart when I go to the grocery store. So those are little flyer leave behinds. Approach contact. So we started ShiftCo. There were 9 of us that started ShiftCo. And then each of us approached some of our contacts, and then that turned into 20, and then that 20 turned into 50. And, now we're closing in on 400. So, but it started with those 9, right? So that idea of who do you really want to be friends with? If you start with that group and serve them well, then they will bring you more and they will bring you more. Relationship activities, live networking. Because I'm an introvert, I do a lot of LinkedIn networking. I do some Facebook networking. If you're an introvert, do things like that. There's some great groups, virtual groups and online groups that you can do great networking in and never have to be in front of a person. Referral activities, asking for referrals. Education, blog posts. This is an example of an awareness building strategy. Hang out. Do you like hanging out with us? I get to know you. How does that go? Blog post, daily posts and tips, interacting with others, speaking, if you like that. And I always say start from that list first, but then you also can partner with people. You can, serve free trade services, develop an alliance, create partner discounts, be a guest on somebody's show, radio, or podcast. By the way, if you like to talk, almost every show host out there is looking for guests. So find people that that have shows and get on their podcast or their radio show. Develop some online partnerships. You can be an event sponsor, or sometimes you can do an event sponsorship and trade services. Choose from that second. I'm not going to get into the paid right now because it will defocus us, but there are some authentic paid strategies that you can deploy as well. So now what you're going to do is you're going to choose the activities that you would enjoy and choose 3, and you're going to do those. But now we got to start thinking about how do we do this with an eye towards providing more value. So here's what that looks like. So we're back to this friend, follower, fan, fanatic. And now we want to really focus on how we're going to grow the relationship. And so this is where you really, really want to think differently. My advice is asking yourself, how can I add value before someone buys? That has been my go-to because it helps me build the relationship. It helps me get to know the person, the people. And it's, where are they? What information can you share that will help them and connect you? How can you serve them until they're ready to buy? I'm going to give you a couple of examples of a couple of products. So this is this is an investment that we have. It's the first zero waste makeup line. And they, one of the ways that they jump-started the business is they gave away 100 of these. And these are very expensive. This is the lip gloss, the mascara, lip gloss, a whole bit. They gave away 100 of these to makeup specialists. And they said, hey, try this out, zero waste. I think 50 of those original folks became customers, and then what they told their clients about it. So that's an example of, thinking about developing a partnership. They gave away some free product, lo and behold, it worked out, and it kind of jump started the engine. So that's an example. The other thing that they added is they have a little quiz where you can calculate what's the environmental impact of your beauty routine. So you answer some questions, and it basically lets you know how much you're polluting the environment with the current beauty routine if you're not using zero waste products. That was very sobering. It was shortly after that I was like really sold on this brand. I was like, holy cow, when I added up mine, I think it was like, 200,000 kilos of polluting in my lifetime. And that really got my attention. So that's an example. Another one of our clients is Acme Brick, and they developed this little masonry designer. And you can go in and you can say, okay, here's a picture of what my wall looks like. Here's a different kind of brick. And you can try different colors to see what it would look like. So that's an example. And to do it, you're asking yourself, what do clients need before they buy a product or service that's similar to yours? In our case, we do a lot of free events. They're free. We're going to serve people. If they want to join, great, but there's no requirement. We just want to serve you. One of my other businesses, our primary way of building relationships is through a series of free assessments. These assessments, we get 30 to 50 leads a month of people taking these assessments. We spend no marketing dollars. People send these assessments to people they know. Hey, this really helped me. And so it's not, if you approach it from that kind of lead magnet way, it's not going to help you. But if you really think about what do people need before they buy from you, it will work. And so remember, the purpose is not to get someone to buy, it's to serve them before they buy as you're building that relationship. So ultimately what happens is as people go through this, it's a very authentic process. It's win-win. And what happens is if you're sharing your tips and tools with current clients, they'll be reminded to share it with others because it's a very authentic relationship. And before you know it, not only do you have great clients, but you have clients that become fans and fanatics, and it creates this win-win. So the last thing I just wanted to cover, and then I'll stop and take a couple of questions, is how do you communicate the value that you provide? So here's the thing to understand about that. When somebody is getting to know you in that friend-follower phase, they don't care what you do. In fact, the more you talk about what you do, the less interested they are. Instead, they are struggling with their problems. So we want to talk about their problems in the beginning of those early days of connecting with them. What happens over time, and it doesn't happen instantaneously, but as it starts to occur, and as you're building that relationship, they begin to see you as the solution. So it's serving them until they're ready to take the next step. And what happens is they begin to say, wow, this Shifco thing, this could really help me. And as long as you maintain the authenticity and the focus on the relationship, they take the next step. And I always like to say the most important sale isn't when someone buys, it's when they see you as the solution to their problem. That is the key. When they see you as the solution to their problem, that's the magic. That's the most important sale, because from that point, as long as you don't try to get them to buy, they are likely to buy from you. And as long as you just serve them until they're ready. So how do you do that? Well, the method that I have used for myself, I call it the PSV conversational model. And so when I'm meeting with somebody, let's say I meet somebody online, I wish them happy birthday. And they're like, well, tell me about, I'd like to meet and learn more about this Shifco thing. When I get on that call, I am not talking about Shifco. I'm saying, well, hey, what was it about me wishing you happy birthday? Well, Terry, it wasn't wishing you happy birthday. It's like I saw some of your posts about Shifco, and okay, well, what made you reach out to me about Shifco? Well, my business isn't growing the way that I want. Well, really, tell me where you're stuck. And so the first 20% of that conversation is me just listening and asking questions. And by the way, this works as well with B2C as it does B2B. And it's treating it as a conversation with a friend or a close colleague. So that first 20% of the conversation is just asking questions and listening. And then the second part of it is, rather than jumping to talking about what you do, it's inserting, well, what have you tried? What types of things do you think will work for you? Back to this makeup line, when we're demoing the product and we say, well, why is zero waste so important to you? Well, it's this, it's that. Okay, well, what zero waste products have you tried? Well, I've tried this, well, I've tried that. What didn't you like about the zero waste products? Well, the quality of them is not very good. Oh, okay. So by going through that exchange and really asking about the problem and the solution, you really, really are building a relationship with them, and you're building a connection. And remember, you don't need hundreds of clients. What you need is like 20 great clients. And then those 20 great clients become fanatics, and they bring you another 20, and so on and so forth. That's really the key. And then the last step is, rather than jumping in and, here's my price and so on and so forth, is tell them a story. And I call them SAR stories: situation, action, result. Well, this reminds me of my friend Bill. Here's what Bill was struggling with. This is what Bill and I did together. And today, this is where Bill's business is. So that's the way you communicate the value. You can do this through your quizzes. You can do this through events. You can do this through conversations. You can do this. Chat bots now are shockingly effective at following the same process. So I just want to invite you guys to the next events that we have in May. I'm going to pause the slide and see if there's any questions. And thank you for tuning in today.